They gon' need a village cause they messin' with the realest. Woo! I can let them blur the vision. Started from the bottom, but I promise I'ma break through. I ain't plan on missing. This is how I'm living every day. I'm trying to make moves, focus on the
All right,
mission.
welcome everybody.
Ain't no
Live,
competition,
Aaron
anyway, they
Hosack,
gon'
Bryce
break
Atagi
through.
right here.
They gon' need
Man,
a
we are excited today. We have a very special guest, somebody that means a lot to Bryce and myself, and somebody whose path is definitely a cool one and definitely worth sharing. So today we're going to give you some things and see if you can guess who our guest is before we announce him. So this person started their climb as a truck team member for 1-800-GOT-JUNK in Atlanta a few years back. He has moved all the way up the career path in the franchise model of 1-800-GOT-JUNK in Southwind, with a stop at almost every single position along the way. He has pioneered roles in Atlanta, right, that did not exist previously because he is somebody that makes an impact, and whatever he touches basically just gets better. You know what I mean? So we had to develop roles that could suit his skill sets and talents. And then something I'm very proud of, and I know Bryce is as well, graduating member of the entrepreneurship program for 2023, which is a very, very prestigious honor in Southwind. Bryce, you know a few other things about him you want to share?
Absolutely, man. Our guest today has watched The Land Before Time over 500 times.
Wow.
And he's actually named 2 of his geckos after characters in the movie. All right. He starred in the Kennesaw Mountains High School play as the lion from the Chronicles of Narnia.
Impressive.
All right. If you scroll through his favorite songs on his playlist, Mariah Carey and Sierra live at the top. All right. And the shades he rocks when it's sunny out, okay, are the one from Lil Jon.
No way.
Yeah! And apparently, Lil Jon threw those glasses into the crowd at a concert, and our guest one-handed those things like OBJ, man. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest to the climb, Mr. Dylan Kehr.
Appreciate it.
Dylan, you are the first guest that's ever been to a Lil Jon concert on the climb. So congratulations. Tell us a little bit about that story. Is there any background to that?
It was a concert I went to when I was younger. He actually threw him out to me in the crowd, and me and this other person caught him, and I actually had to bite this girl to get the glasses. But I did end up getting it. So.
Job well done. Well, we'd love to see those glasses. I don't know if you have them with you right now, but if you could send us a photo of those later, we could definitely add it so the people can see it as well. But hey, Dylan, really, really excited to have you on today. Like we start every episode is, we're just going to kind of throw it your way and, have you kind of tell us what your background is, your upbringing, where you're from, family, interests as a kid, those early days for Dylan Kehr.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. First child, grew up moving pretty much all around Georgia. My mom moved us quite a bit. Loved animals. So, something I loved doing growing up was going outside, catching, bugs, snakes, like anything you can think of. I used to catch them. Very smart kid. I used to get in trouble if I got a B. If I came home with a B grade, I would be in trouble for that. I've moved over all over Georgia. A little bit of issues in the family growing up, so we moved around quite a bit. My brother and sister, Ethan and Sabrina. I'm 8 years apart from Ethan and 10 from Sabrina. And in high school, actually, they used to call me the curve killer because nobody got a curve on their test. Because I'd always get a 100. Yeah.
That made you very popular, I would imagine, right?
Right.
That's cool, Dylan. What do you love about Georgia?
Just the trees. It's just a nice scenery. It's a lot of people say it's humid here, but really it's all I know, so I don't mind it at all.
Very cool.
Yeah, Dylan, talking about your upbringing a little bit. Growing up as a kid, man, what were your early aspirations in life? What was your dream job growing up? What did little Dylan Kehr wanted to be when he grew up?
To be honest, I wanted to be the crocodile hunter. I wanted to be Steve Irwin when I grew up.
I can see that. Have you ever done that? Have you ever, hunted crocodiles before, or is this just something you used to watch on TV?
No, I realized it wasn't something that was something I could actually make a living out of. But I also thought about being a doctor one day. So it's always something that kind of interests me. Going into healthcare.
Yeah. What is it about animals? You've brought up animals a lot. What is it about animals that, like, since a kid, man, what made you, fall in love with them so early?
I don't know. I'm just I guess just a really caring person. I like I always grew up with cats, dogs, things of that nature. So just having something that I can just kind of take care of. Just a really, really caring person.
If you're watching at home, you will see Dylan slamming this huge jug of water every now and then. There's a reason why Bryce and I didn't react, because we've been on plenty of calls with Dylan. That is a natural thing. He does that every single day. All right, one of the most hydrated human beings you will ever meet, and a lot of what he does is very disciplined in his approach, not only to work but to life as well. And that's something that we really admire about Dylan. So, a big part of that was getting you on the show to just dive inside, Dylan Kehr and how you kind of look at life, Dylan, and just how you approach it, because that is something that we think you're very, very well at, right? Like taking initiative, consistency, so kind of getting back to, hey, where it all started, all right? So you've been with Southwind 1-800-GOT-JUNK for how long, Dylan?
This July will be 5 years.
5 years in July. Awesome. That's a huge milestone you're approaching. What did you think when you first joined, man? What did you think when you first joined? Did you think, all right, this was going to be my career, this was going to be where I'm at forever? Or, kind of tell me what was going through your head the first day at 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't think it was going to be something that I'd stick with for very long. I thought it was more of a stepping stone for me. But I didn't have the best past before this. So honestly, I was just super appreciative for anybody giving me a chance. So willing to do what it took to prove myself, and just super grateful for this company for giving me the opportunity to work here.
That's cool, man. Yeah, Bryce was talking, and he said, man, Dylan still has the selfie he took on day one, I believe, on the job, right? And just that feeling, that exciting feeling, not knowing what the next month or two was going to hold. And I think similar to Bryce, like we all kind of, when we started, and it was just a couple months maybe in our mindset, right? But when we truly got in here, we realized we were a part of something special, man, and the best was yet to come. So,
absolutely. And Dylan, looking back, 5 years, right? It's a long time. All right. So, what was that aha moment throughout your time here where the switch really flipped for you and it turned from just a job to a career, like something that you could see doing for a long, long time? And what was that aha moment for you?
Yeah, I would say before Southwind, I mean, there was truck team members, and then there was the manager. There wasn't much in between. But after Southwind took over Atlanta, there was more of a career path. They brought more opportunity. There was different levels to progress yourself. So I saw that, I recognized that, and I wanted more. One of my managers at the time, Richard, challenged me because we had these scenarios that we were taking to get certified, and Frankie was coming out strong. He was on his 3.3, and Richard came up to me and he said, "Hey man, Frankie's on his 3.3. Where are you at?" And I was like, "I'm on my scenario 1. Like, so what?" But like at that moment, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to be the first one to get certified now. So I started coming in every single day. Morning I take one, afternoon I take one, because I'm competitive. I wanted to be the first to finish, and I did. But yeah, just something about seeing the opportunity to grow within the company just lit a fire underneath me.
Dylan, where do you get your competitive drive from? Because I know you were hyper competitive.
I don't know. It's a good question. I would say, I've always been competitive with my brother, even before, working here. Like growing up, we used to play video games, so I guess part of it could come from that. But I've always just been competitive. It kind of just runs in the family.
All right. Do you still have the edge on your brother?
He's probably got me now. I haven't played video games in probably at least 10 years. So,
yeah, I think I've been the same. And a few things that we admire about you, Dylan, is when we were talking about great traits and what we really wanted to highlight in this, like you take initiative, right? Like there is no procrastination. I know you don't even know the definition of that word. You take initiative and own things, right? Like a lot of your leaders, we asked them things about you, and they told us, one of them told us, he hasn't reached his capacity in anything that he's done. That was from Stacia. She would hand you projects, and it's like, she thought at some point it was going to become too much, but she said, man, he just takes it, runs with it, and he absolutely delivers every single time we give him something. You're very disciplined in your approach, and I know this from being in an entrepreneurship class with you. Just in life, personal life, professional life. Dylan, I know you're a regimented dude in your routines and habits, right? Like bedtime's early for you, right? Because waking up early is a part of your routine and habits. So kind of tell us about your routines and habits and, where those developed over the years and how they have an impact on your success moving forward.
Yeah, I would say, first of all, I haven't always been disciplined. There was a time in my life where I wasn't disciplined at all, but I've learned from a lot of the mistakes that I made. And, now like discipline is so built into me. Like I can't imagine going back to living a life where I don't have discipline. Like I wake up at 3:30 in the morning, go to the gym every morning. I feel like, like now it's like a superpower for me, right? But like I didn't have that before. And I got that through making mistakes, really falling on my face and learning the hard way. It wasn't something that came natural to me.
Very cool. When's the last time you missed a day lifting or going to the gym?
Actually, I've actually got a competition going right now with the guys here on who can take the least amount of days off in 2024. And he's at 3. It's actually Trey Davis. He's taken 3 days off this year. I've only taken 1 off this year. And it was on January 4th was the last day I took off.
All right. So. Big shout out to Trey Davis. That's a competition I can get behind. Yeah. Who's going to take the least amount of days off this year? I love it.
I remember I came out to Atlanta on a field visit, and it's about 3 a.m. and my phone rings. All right. And guess who it is, man? It's Dylan Kehr. Like, hey, bro, you coming to the gym? I'm right outside the hotel, man. And, so I can attest to the fact that Dylan does do those things. He ain't lying on that.
Did you make it to the gym?
I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. There was
Did
a
you
gym.
go back to bed?
I went back to bed. Yep, at 3:30, man. When you have triplets, man, you're going to take advantage of any sleep you can freaking get. So, but, Dylan, along the climb, there's peaks and there's valleys, right? And as you think about the ups and the downs of your journey, all right, what have been some of the most valuable learning experiences so far on your personal climb?
Yeah, so I would say, for me, and, most people wouldn't take it this way, but for me, I did some time in prison. I got in some trouble, out of high school. I got involved with the wrong people and started, using and selling drugs. And it got me into, a lot of trouble. I got arrested, ended up, getting sentenced to 10 years in prison. I only did about a third of that. So I did 42 months altogether. But man, like my time in prison taught me so much, and honestly, like looking back, I honestly wouldn't change anything. because, like if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have the discipline I have today. Like even though, I made some really wrong decisions and I took a hard turn in my life that I'll never get back. Doing that and having to pay for the mistakes that I made, really taught me a lot and gave me a lot of discipline that I have now that I definitely wouldn't have had before. So like my time in prison, I got into some fights, I got jumped. But what I did do was I told myself at that point, like, I'm going to do something differently. I'm not going to be somebody that's going to get jumped. So like, that was the point in my life where I really got serious about working out. I had some really bad habits before I went to prison, but at that point I developed a new habit that I, really, really fell in love with. And, I still have it to this day. I still work out every day and it feels great. And it's a high, but it's a good kind of high. It's not the kind that, doesn't do anything for you. So, that's when everything changed for me. I started, reading books in prison as well. Really just trying to develop my mind, my body, and just make myself better. While I was in there, I remember thinking back and looking around and seeing a lot of the guys in there that were just doing the same thing that they were doing before they got locked up. Like you can still in prison, you can still get, drugs, cigarettes, things like that. And like, I saw guys that were doing that. They were getting that kind of stuff snuck in and like, they didn't learn any kind of lesson from the mistakes they had made. But like, that wasn't going to be me. I wasn't going to, keep doing the same stuff that got me into the trouble that I was in, so I had to make a choice and I had to do something differently or else that's where I would have spent the rest of my life. If I would have kept doing that stuff and, not learned, like, yeah, I may have gotten out eventually, but like I would have gone right back in there. So, just had to make a choice. I had to do something differently, and just couldn't keep going down the same path. But one thing that was really, really hard for me during that time in there was, like 42 months is a really long time, and like I got visitation later on in my time in prison, and like seeing my brother and my sister like come to visit me and like how much they had like changed from the time that I was locked up in there. Like, like 3.5 years is a long time, and they were, just going into their teenage years and like you grow a lot in 3.5 years. So like when I went in, like my brother and sister were like little kids, like they were like tiny little kids. And like when I got out, they were like grown-ups. Like it was eye-opening, because like I had missed that much time in my family's life, and like just thinking about like what that did to them, like seeing their brother like make those mistakes, like it just, I don't know, it just I couldn't keep doing that. I had to do something differently. So I decided that I was gonna be a good example. I was going to get out and do the right thing. And, I wasn't going to be, the person that I had been, because like I was really just living for myself at that point, before I got locked up. But after prison, I started, doing things for not just myself, but for other people. Like I learned so much through that experience. And came out a completely different person. So
yeah, well, Dylan, man, we appreciate you for opening up, man. I know it's not easy to talk about those things, but as I look back, and I'm sure as Aaron looks back, it's those moments that you go through where you realize, hey, it's time for me to make a change, and not only does the change that I'm making affect me, but also the people that I care about the most, man. And how cool of a story is it that you had the opportunity to, after the fact, meet back up with your brother Ethan, and now you guys are shoulder to shoulder every single day, rocking the same uniform, doing the damn thing, man. So I just want to say before we move on, man, I'm super freaking proud of you and how far you've come, and thanks for sharing that with us.
Absolutely, yeah. It's an inspiring story, man, and it's one of the best stories I think that we have, with our teammates. And really appreciate you sharing, Dylan. And it kind of goes without saying, I'm going to ask you a question, but I think after just hearing that, a lot of people could know the answer to this one, right? But we did ask a couple of your leaders, why people follow you, man, like what you bring to the table. Okay, so one of those leaders, Kwesi, said, he shows up every day and you know exactly what he is going to do and that it will be 100%, like without a doubt. Casey fired that one off. Stacia, as I referred to earlier, she said, I have not seen this dude reach his capacity yet. Like everything we give him, I think it's going to be too much at some point, but he just keeps going and asking for more. Like you become infatuated with it, right? Like, the obsession is what I love from you, Dylan, and everything you do. And, I'm going to ask you a question that we ask everybody on the climb. Why do people bet on you?
Yeah, I would say because I genuinely care about, moving them forward. I care about being a good example and, not just about myself anymore, but I care about, like moving forward, but also moving others forward with me as well. So I would say that's why they followed me. And I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'm not afraid to get out there and do what they do, to get in the field, because I was in the trucks for 2.5 years, just like them. So I don't think of myself as any differently than them. I think of myself as a truck team member still. So
absolutely, yeah. That's where we all pretty much came from, right? So it's hard to lose, that part of the business, man. That's where the true work happens every single day. So really cool to hear that you love, being shoulder to shoulder with the dudes out there doing it every day.
Yeah, Dylan, kind of walk us through, some adversity that you faced in the past and overcame. When you think of other key moments in your life, right? Like, what gave you the confidence to keep climbing? Like, what were those things in your life that you maybe overcame, or you persevered through some things that maybe you didn't know how it was going to go and you came out on the other side? And like, what gives you the confidence, man, to keep going day in and day out with the consistency that you have?
yeah, I would say, a lot of it, I keep going back to the prison thing, but I mean, that just was so eye-opening for me, just going through that. So I would say that experience. And then also, here recently, just seeing, the other guys that we have in the business, moving forward, like that's inspirational. And like, that inspires me to keep going, like seeing Nick Foskey get sent to Grand Rapids, Andreas and Robert, going down to Jacksonville, and even our guys, still here in Northwest, seeing them move up, seeing Austin Martin go to DOPD and then DOO, Nick Brock become our DOPD, and then Ethan now becoming our CSA for Atlanta. Like all that just really inspires me to keep going.
Love that.
Yeah, so Dylan, the Southwind motto, right? Like, we believe that anything is possible, and I think your story, man, speaks to why we believe that anything is possible, man, right? So Dylan, when did you believe that anything was possible?
Yeah, I would say, biggest moment for me was when I bought my house. That was really big for me. Like coming from nothing. Like when I first started here, my brother, actually Ethan, is who got me my job here. And I didn't even have a car when I first started here. I was catching a ride with Ethan every day, waiting for him at the shop until he was done to give me a ride back home. But just being able to move my way up, go from nothing to purchasing a home, with this business and having the record that I have, and still having the ability to to do something like that for myself, like that's what really just makes me think that anything's possible, and know that, you know, like the guys here can do it as well. And like that's what I want, is to see them move forward as well. And when I see them hit those milestones, like that just really you know, really just inspires me.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I would say you're a super believable party, right? A guy that started as a new hire, all right, back in the day, went to CSL, as you were talking about earlier, SSL, all right, become the DOPD of Atlanta Northwest. Then you become the DOPD of all of Atlanta. Then you move to North Cumming office, all right, to run that as a GM. And then you end up back where it all started, man, as the GM of Atlanta Northwest. You know, that's really, really incredible. You know, so knowing what you know now, all right, if you could sit across the table and have a one-on-one with 15-year-old Dylan Kehr, all right, what advice would you give yourself, all right, or what advice would you give to our listeners that are listening to the podcast, man?
Yeah, I would say just be yourself. You know, if I was speaking to myself, I'd tell myself, you know, don't try to be cool. You know, you are cool how you are. You know, like don't try to do things that aren't you just to impress other people. And then like for the listeners, I would say just consistency is key. You know, like you may not see the results you want by doing the right thing for a week or 2 weeks or a month. But if you keep doing the right thing day in and day out and you're consistent with it, you will see the results you want.
That's great advice. Dylan, last question we got for you, for everybody on the show. Why is the climb worth it?
Just because of, you know, the people that I get to take along with me. You know, the climb's not just about me. It's about, you know, growing this team and you know, moving people forward. So that's why it's worth it to me, is just to see other people to be able to climb and to move forward.
That's awesome. Dylan, hey, we really appreciate the time, my man. Thank you for sharing your story. Your story, very inspirational, and, you know, can't wait to hear a lot of the feedback that we get from the listeners, because I truly appreciate you sharing it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dylan. This is The Climb.
I can let them blur the vision. Started from the bottom, but I promise I'ma break through. I ain't plan on missing. This is how I'm living every day. I'm trying to make moves, focus on the mission. Ain't no competition anyway that they gon' break you. They gon' need a village. They gon' need a village, cause they messing with the realest. Woo!